Hi everybody. Today we're going to be factoring. Take you back to Math 1 or Math 2. You can factor however you want. There's a box method, there's an X method, there's lots of ways. There's just brute force to do it, try numbers until they work. I can show you how I do it. But basically you just have to make sure you get the right answers, and then you can multiply it back to check to see if you did it correctly. So the way we get x squared is x times x, and then we want to know how we get 12, but it has to add to 8. And the reason why it has to add is because this is a plus. So they're both going to be the same. They're going to be the same as this. They're both going to be pluses. So I go over here to 12 and do 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. And the numbers that add up to 8 are 2 and 6. So I get 2x plus 6x gives me 8x. And 2 times 6 is 12. So I do plus 2, plus 6. And you can have these two terms switched because they're both pluses, so it doesn't matter. You can switch them. And you can have x plus 6 times x plus 2. So if there's a plus here, they're both going to be the same as this, and you're going to be adding. So on the next one, there's a plus here, so they're both going to be the same as this. They're going to both be minus. They're both going to be negative. But we're still going to be adding to get 11. So 28 is 1 times 28. 2 times 14. 4 times 7. There it is. 4x negative minus 7x negative is negative 11x. So 4 and 7. And negative times negative gives us positive. And that's all you do. We're not solving by factoring, we're just factoring. If you were solving by factoring, there'd be an equal 0. There'd be an equal 0, and then we would set each of these equal to 0. And then solve and get x equals 4 and x equals 7. But we're just factoring. Here's another one. This one has a minus here, which means we're going to subtract to get 4. Instead of adding to get the middle number, you subtract to get the middle number. And if this is a minus, there's going to be one of each. There's going to be one positive and one negative, because positive times negative is negative, so there has to be one of each. So 5 is pretty easy. It's 1 times 5. So we get a 1x and a 5x, and we want a positive 4x. So which one has to be positive? The 5 has to be positive, so that when we add them together or subtract them, that we get positive 4. So minus 1 plus 5. And if you multiply it back, you get back to where you started. Those are the basic ones where A is the number in front. A is 1. When it's just x times x. So you have 10 of those, or 7 now, because I did the first 3. Then we get to a couple of these difference of squares. Where the first number is a perfect square. X squared is what squared? X, right? X squared. 16 is what squared? 4. You can do 1 plus and 1 minus. X times x is x squared minus 4x plus 4x. It cancels. That's why there's no middle term. And positive 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Difference of squares. So it's always a binomial. It's a minus, and these have to be perfect squares. Otherwise, you can't factor it. If it was a plus, sum of squares can't be factored. And then the last one we're going to do is one when there's a number in front, when the A is not 1. Our A is 7. So you multiply 7 times 8. And you get 56. You multiply the A and the C. 1 times 56, 2 times 28. 4 times 14. The easiest is 7 times 8. Excuse me. We want a negative 1. So we're going to have 7n and 8n. And which one has to be negative? So we'll get a negative 1n. 8. You don't just put 7 and 8 in here. You do 7n times n gives you 7n squared. And then I do this. And remember, you can factor however you know how to factor. But I put 7 here and negative 1 here to remind me that this term minus this term gives us the negative 1n. And so 7, does it go into negative 8? No. Does 7 go into 7? Yes. How many times? 1. And then this is a 1n. 1 goes into negative 8 times. And if you multiply everything back, it works. But remember, you can factor any way you know how to factor. And we should always get the same answers, no matter which way we factor. So there you go. You'll have a factoring worksheet to do. You have to finish this by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you.